Welcome to the No Stand Zone podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tiae. Good to have you here every single week, bringing you the best of updates of the latest happenings around the genre that we all love, that we all are here for. Talking about Afrobeats, Nigerian music, African music. We'll also cover the artist and the culture and just generally everything that is happening. And I also give you some in-depth analysis and just the way I say things, almost sounding like a new show, right? We could say something close to that. And we're going to be covering a lot today. There's a lot to cover today, but let me say a big thank you to every one of you for being here. This is episode 32. I cannot even believe that I'm saying that. But just a few weeks ago, I was looking at episode 1 and just thinking of, I mean, where do I start from? How do we start? How do we just get on with it, right? And we're here at 30 weeks since that very first episode. If this is your first time in here, I want to say thank you. I mean, you couldn't have come at a greater time. I mean, episode 32, you're so early. Well, I mean, I just appreciate you. Whatever time you're joining us on the pod. As always, all our episodes are available on acast.com, on Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast as well. I think the past 5 weeks or so, the full episodes are also on YouTube. Please, because of how the algorithm and all of that works, please follow or subscribe on YouTube as well. Our YouTube channel, it's simple, the No Stand Zone podcast with Tiae on YouTube. Please, while you're there, hit the subscribe button, as well as tell your friends about it and share as well. I mean, it feels like asking for a lot, but really do appreciate if you admire what we're doing here. I mean, you just been here is a lot of support already, but you can take it a little bit further. Please follow on Twitter as well. It's at No Stand Pod on Twitter, at No Stand Pod. You can follow me personally. I'm always putting out stuff about the pod, as well as some of my thoughts during the week before I get into before I release the podcast. I'm sharing some of my thoughts and around things that are happening in real time before we come into the podcast. You can follow me as Tiae Sound. That's Tiae Sound, Tiae Sound on Twitter as well. And don't hesitate to share with family and friends. Let them know what we're doing here. So much to cover today. I had to take some things off and push it to next week because I think it's gonna be a fun show, and I cannot wait to start to dive into some of them. As always, let's start with new music. Some of the few songs that came out this week, artists releasing new music this week, the ones that kind of caught my attention and my thoughts around them. I think the biggest one, I mean, everyone talking about at this point is Wizkid's the release of Wizkid's single in anticipation of the album that he eventually announced is coming out, I think November 22nd or so. It's roughly about a month from now. Titled Mariah. We'll be waiting for that. But he released a single with Bret, Faiyaz, and this one is titled Piece of My Heart. Now, I have seen a couple of people's thoughts around this this release, and just people's thoughts, and it's always, for me, it's hard for me to even take anything people say seriously. I'm talking about the internet seriously, right? And most of what the focus on was like the beat change in the middle of the song, and just people's thoughts around that. But enough of what people think. You guys are not here for that. Let's talk about what I think about this particular single. I would say this is a very, very interesting single. I am surprisingly shocked at just the overall arrangement of the song. Now, this is a 4 minutes, like over 4 minutes. This song is like over 4 minutes. In today's world, you're releasing a sort of R&B record, which is what this is, and it is over 4 minutes. Now, not just because the reason why 4 minutes, the reason why the 4 minutes kind of surprised me is because he's a Nigerian artist. He's an African artist. Nobody is releasing 4 minute singles today. It is not a common thing amongst the mainstream artists. Like, you need to get it done real quick and move on. Let's hear what the next song is. Virtually every pop song out there is that way. And for an artist like Wizkid, this surprised me. And then another thing, the second thing is, this is it's a good record. I really do like it, and it has me thinking a lot about what this album is going to look like. Because I honestly wasn't expecting this from him. This tells me that this is someone who really understands the genre. Put this is for sure involved in putting this, at least this single that we know, involved in putting this single together, because it is beautifully arranged. And now the third thing is, Wizkid doesn't have like the greatest R&B voice out there, but there is one thing for sure he understands. He understands how the genre works. He understands the fundamentals of the genre, and he's working around that. And if you've listened to this podcast long enough, I've spoken about this in previous episodes when I was talking about Ira Star and Means and some other people. Whenever you're working around a genre, you're trying to make a rap record or whatever genre you're working with, you need to understand how the genre works and the fundamental of that genre, so that you can pull off the single. And he definitely understands it. There is a way you carve your words. There is a way you pronounce your words to make it just sound very whole and fit into that genre you're working with. You're featuring one of the brightest voices right now in R&B, at least in the US, talking about Bret Faiyaz. You have to come correct. Anything less than that, you're just going to look dumb on the record. And Wizkid held his ground on this one. And that's like the third thing that really, not surprised me, but caught my attention, that he understood the assignment on this record. Anything less than what he gave here, because it was just borderline, anything less than this, and he would have looked out of place on this record. It could have sounded more like a Bret Faiyaz record than a Wizkid's record, because Bret took the very first verse, took the chorus, and then a couple of ad libs here and there. So Wizkid could have gotten lost in this song, but that's why I said he held his ground. And he seemed to be present, as dominant as Bret was on this record. Wizkid held his ground as well. Like, you didn't forget that this was a Wizkid record throughout the whole I don't know what you guys need to pay attention. The whole 4 minutes. I'm impressed that they went that way, and then the beat change towards the end of the record just made it also look like two different records entirely in one, but then they just fit. And it reminds me of Chris Brown's record from his from the album he just released. I'm trying to quickly get that out. Yeah. So the very first song on the album 1111 is Angel Numbers and 10 Toes. That was where my mind kind of went to immediately, where it just felt like a seamless transition between the singles, and as distinct as they were, it just fit. It really did fit. I mean, I was really impressed with this record. I'm not gonna lie, I really did like it, and I was just surprised, and it had me thinking that I hope that he had the same people around him putting this album, the Mariah album, together. I'm hoping that I get this quality to or attention to detail in the album. If he gives me an album that sounds like this, this would be incredible. For me, it would be an incredible album. If I get an album that has this level of attention to detail in every track, and I know he's going to come up with some Afrobeats track here and there, and I don't doubt that the album is going to sound cohesive and all of that, but it's going to be brilliant. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be nice to see how the album sounds and the records that come, that come in here and there. I mean, I just heard this and it had me salivating for what the album is going to be like. This was beautifully put together, an incredible R&B record, no doubt. I mean, and a few pods ago, I was talking about there is a standard to what an R&B record should be. It is not an R&B, there's more to an R&B record than just you using slow music or good R&B sounding beats and all of the production. If you do not deliver on it, you're gonna sound off and amateur. That was my biggest criticism of Ira Starr's album, that most people they don't mention that, right? And that was the goal in that album, but I mean, it was all of that was lost, right? All of that was lost. But back to Wizkid, I cannot wait for what the album itself is gonna sound like. This was beautifully put together. This record beautifully put together. Bret Faiyaz, I mean, you don't need any introduction. He's got such an incredible voice. Wizkid held his ground. Cannot wait for the album. Basically, a summarization of what I feel about this record. Cannot wait. November 22nd, we're all gonna be here. I'm gonna give you my take, of course, on it. More than just, oh, this album knock or this album don't knock or good production, or people come up with words, so-called music journalists come up with words because they're good with words. They kind of put words together to describe projects, and it's way more than that. Okay, so just, you can be assured that right here there isn't any bias. I mean, towards any artist. The only bias I have here is bias towards the truth, towards honesty, integrity. I'm always gonna be on that side whenever I'm talking about anybody's art or anybody's work of art on this in this community, in this space. Okay, so we're gonna keep our fingers crossed, wait for that. We know the album is probably ready, and we're just waiting to get served at this point. Another single that I heard this week is by this Ghanaian lady. Her name is Gyakie, and it was this song titled Days Pass By KJ Spio or Spio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. Well, let's say Spio, featuring Gyakie on this song titled Days Pass By. Now, I'd heard the snippets here and there before the release on Friday, and I honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, I wasn't even excited about the record in any way, because I wasn't paying attention to the lady but I haven't heard anything from her in a minute. She probably would have released something, but I mean, it's not just on my radar. Yeah, she had. Oh, okay. She and Cade were on a record earlier this year, February 9th, on a song titled Runaway. I haven't heard that. So, I mean, the first record of the year is in February, and then the next one is this one that we have now coming out in October. Yeah, so I probably haven't been paying a lot of attention, and she hasn't been putting out, I mean, anything, I guess, in the past year. I mean, since the beginning of the year, I would say. So when I saw the snippet, I didn't even listen. I didn't probably even listen to it all the way. This kind of thing where you just, the artist is trying to promote their single, so they're probably dancing in the snippet with the song playing in the background. And they're dancing a certain way, and that's what you're probably paying attention to. You're not paying attention to the music playing in the background, because virtually it's a Friday, and if you follow a lot of Nigerian artists, blogs, and all of that, that's basically what you see all day on a Friday. Artists promoting their singles, and once you've seen a lot of that, you just skip through those snippets and you're like, well, I will check it out on the DSPs when I see it and if I like it. So I just scroll through. But then I went to my new music playlist and I just, like I do every Friday, I just let it play, and I just listen for the songs that kind of catch my attention that sounds really good. And then up comes this song, Days Pass By. I was like, oh, Gyakie, I think I saw a snippet. And the first 15 seconds, I kind of, I sat up immediately because the melody and all of that already drew me in. And this was a really good record. I really enjoyed this. And then I went to her Twitter page to kind of then listen to the snippet. There's a whole world of difference. I mean, this one, if I was someone who pays attention to a lot of snippet and not paying attention to the artist or their music, I probably would have skipped through this song like I do. I will not lie to you. I do a lot of that every week because you cannot listen to everything, right? So you just skip through and you listen to some of them. I probably would have skipped through if I actually pay attention to all these snippets, right? But the difference between the snippet and the song itself is like light and day. It's like night and day, right? It is such an incredible record. I was hearing a lot of attention to detail on this record. I was so impressed. At some point, I was like, wait, I hope this song actually is hers because it's got her KJ Spio and Gyakie. So I was hoping that this song is hers and she has a project or something coming up where she can put it in. It can be part of the songs on the album. It really would be good. I don't know who owns this song. Both of them looks like it, but I guess it's KJ Spio because his name comes first. You guys know how this things work on the DSPs, but this was a really incredible record. Going to her Twitter page to then see that she had been posting about the process and of that, I mean, the process of coming up with this song and what the songwriting was like, because then I went to check it out because it was, I mean, this is you singing about a familiar topic around love and relationship and all of that. And then when I was hearing what the words and the lyrics, I was like, this is different. So I went to check it out. Like, okay, so let me get the people who she should work with, and to then find out that she wrote this song herself. Because I saw one of the snippets she put out, I think days ago, promoting the record, had her type out the lyrics to the single. So I was double impressed. I was like, wow, this is a really good record. I listened to it at the moment it got to that song, I just put it on replay. I played it for a couple of hours, just soak it in. I'm that kind of person. I hear a song, especially one that I like, for the first time, catches my attention. It's got good melodies. I'm gonna listen to it at least 20 times before I move on, especially when it's a playlist not of the songs that I know, of other songs as well. No, I'm gonna go back several times on that song to just take it all in. I put it on repeat immediately, and I think it's probably all I listened to for the rest of the day on Friday. It was such an incredible record. I am so proud of her. Knowing that she wrote this herself, this tells me that there is a songwriter in her. There is a songwriter in her for sure. Somewhere in her, in her soul, there is a songwriter there. Because this was a beautiful record put together. The production as well, in the sense that the way the songs were arranged, and there was a possibility of the song to also sound empty, but then her ad libs really did the song justice. If you guys remember when I was talking about the DJ Neptune and King Maddie's song Honest a few weeks ago, and I was talking about something was missing in between some of the records, this is what I'm talking about, of how to fill a record where you keep that sweet melody and all of that going, even in that break between the verse and the chorus, instead of just leaving it empty, you're able to fill it up with, with something, with the ad libs or whatever lyrics you want to put in there. And this had the possibility of, sounding as empty as that, although the record sounds very good because of the melodies and all of that. But no, she did justice to it. Even that space in between, I mean, she really killed this record. I'm so impressed. She's a Ghanaian. Her name is Gyakie. You guys should go check out the song. It's titled Days Pass By. And then probably the last one of the new music I'll talk about is Naira Marley. He's got this song titled Kowope. If you don't understand what that means let the money, like, the money be complete. Like, let the money be complete. Something like that. Yeah, I think, close. That's the closer. Yeah, like saying, give me my full money. Something like that. The complete money you owe me. Something like that, right? So this song is by Naira Marley, Wizkid, and Zinolesky. Now, we haven't heard from Naira Marley in a long time. There's been a lot of controversies around him the past few years. I mean, so I was kind of, like anticipating what the record will sound like. I don't know. I would say I just like it. That I don't have a lot more to say about him. He gives that street pop vibes, and because he's a talented artist as well, that genre he's just really good at it. If that is your thing, you would really like this record. Gives you all that, harsh tone in the voice that goes with the street delivery. So I just listened to this one because I was interested to know what he was planning on, what he's sounding like now after being out for a minute or so. I mean, nobody has been paying attention to his music in a minute. I don't want to go into the details. You guys can go Google of that, but a lot of like negative energy has just been around him because of his actions, and some might say inactions as well, affecting him and artists like Zinolesky as well, who I mean, just that circle. So I mean, it was just interesting when I saw that he's got a new single out. I was like, let me go check it out, and it sounded dope. I mean, I don't have anything much to say about that right now. So that kind of rounds it up on the new music. So let's go into one of the things that kind of caught my attention this week. If you're active on social media around Nigerian music and all of that, you probably have been seeing the blogs post about the new artist of the year, like which new artists are we most excited about and things like that. And I couldn't resist engaging with those blogs, not necessarily putting a comment there or anything, but just looking at the list, the names on that list, and going through them, and then just thinking about it. So I saw that post, and then funny enough, you guys know how I feel about the Afro creative space. I was also there again this week. I mean, I've been there 2-3 weeks in a row now. Yeah, we'll say 3. Is it 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks in a row I've been there. And I mean, I've had some time, and some of the things that have been spoken about, things that I'm passionate about. So it was good to be part of the conversation. And this week they were talking about new artists and the top 5 new artists of like new debut singles they were talking about this year. And one of the artists that I brought up, and I think he has got the most remarkable debut singles this year. I mean, a couple of artists released theirs, like Young John, like Victoni, and I can tell you, and a couple of artists as well. I think there's an artist called Tiae. I listened to the project as well. There's Kemuel. I mean, a couple of artists released projects this year. But I don't think I've spoken about Kemuel at all. And if you haven't heard about this guy, oh my goodness, you should go listen to his project titled, debut album titled Clouds. And for him, if over the past couple of weeks, I have been talking about new artists and them having some sort of identity And last week we talked about genres not being a bad thing, in the sense that who are you as an artist? Whether you like it or not, we should be able to identify who you are as an artist, right? And it's not just for the artist, it's not just for us alone that define you, it's for the artist to be able to know who they are at their core. Because in the end, you are in some spectrum of the genres that already exist. Nobody is creating any new genre today, right? So most artists are falling in the spectrum of the genres that exist. Some of them might be alternative to the major thing, like alternative pop, street pop, and things like that, right? So you're not creating anything that has never been seen or heard before, right? And I mentioned that artists should be able to have that identity, and then you can then work around that. If not, you're just going to be blown, or you're just going to flow with whatever the popping thing is. And with all due respect to the artists, some of the artists out there, I've given an example of artists that don't seem to have an identity and are battling with it right now. One of them is Cade, who I just mentioned, who has a song with Gyakie from early in the year. He just keeps giving you different spectrum of today. You don't even know what to expect from him. And the thing is, as cool-ish as that sounds, like you're trying to show that you're versatile. We're going to talk about that in a minute. You're trying to, in quote now, versatile. You lose your audience. You're not able to build a community. You're not able to build your audience, because who are you exactly? Artists need to be able to know what to expect when they're coming to you. And it's like people don't get it. For example, like as I'm also a casual listener of music. There, like today now, I was listening to a couple of new music, and I was like, nah, I feel like listening to something that will give me a lot of just energy, like mentally, something that would just boost my mood right now. And I went straight to MI's latest album, The Guy, from last year. Like, you know the artist and what to expect. Like, if you're feeling a certain way, maybe you want energy, or you want, like, you need to be able to put a sort of emotion, or sometimes even emotion, on a certain artist, where you're like, oh, I want to listen to this artist because they give me they trigger a certain emotion whenever I listen to their music. That is part of the identity that I'm talking about, right? And I can tell you for sure that this artist, like Kemuel, has that identity that I'm talking about. A few minutes ago, I mentioned Cade. Another artist that seems to be battling with finding their identity is another artist. Her name is Lade. Now, I've seen a couple of videos of her in the past 2-3 years now with different producers, and she's got a really good voice, right? She's got a good voice, but it is obvious that she doesn't really know where she stands right now, and she's not able to capture anybody. And the thing is, not everybody will make it, right? We know all of that. Not everybody's going to have thousands of fans and all of that. I mean, it's just the way the music is a business. This thing is a music business, and right in the end. So it just wouldn't work, right? But one thing that should not be said about an artist is we don't even know who you are. Like, you not having an identity. That should be something that should not be said about an artist. And the truth is, any artist that seems to be battling with that, is not even, there is no hope of you capturing anybody. And I know artists want to be genreless and all of that BS that is happening today. Nobody wants to be, in quote, bottled down, but we need to know where you are and who you are. Another artist that seems to be, I'm surprised, because she seems to be established at the same time she moves like a new artist, is Tiae. I don't even want to go on talking about her, but that's another artist that seems to find it hard right now to define who they are there's no identity towards them. I just needed to remind you guys that that is one of the things that I have always spoken about new artists. We need to know who you are. And until you figure that out, you cannot build. You cannot even begin to talk about, oh, I want to gain more audience. You cannot even begin to go there if you do not know who you are. Ira Star, we know who she is, right? On this new project, I don't know what she was doing. And the thing is, they know on that team that this project was in it. A lot of people are online talking about, oh, it's the project of the year, is this. The project did not go anywhere on the streets. It didn't. It didn't. Which she cannot go on tour with that album. On a successful tour around where with that album? Because the album, they know it on their side, on their end. I can beat my chest away. They know it on their end that song, that album was not inspiring anybody to show up. That album, not inspiring anybody to show up. Most people keep talking about one of the songs that moved them in the project, and they mentioned one of them, I think, where she was talking about, her loss, the loss of her, in her family and all of that. I'm like, well, fine. You guys like that. You're not performing that, or that is not a song that is going to draw people to come to your shows. That's not what's going to draw people to come to your show. So what are we talking about here? And that whole album is off what her identity and we know her to be. Give us the Afrobeat song and don't try and give us something you don't have. And you cannot even deliver. She was trying to give the R&B-ish, like what Tyler was able to deliver on that record. But then, no, I'm repeating myself. But you guys get what you understand what I mean. You need to have an identity, especially for new artists. And if there is one artist that takes that slams that right on the head, that hits the nail right on the head, is Kemuel. He's one of the new artists in the past couple of years now that just excites me. Another one you guys know is Cold AF. And hopefully they move on in the right direction there. But Kemuel, he just amazes me. He amazed me with this project titled Clouds. If you haven't listened to it, you need to go check it out. He reminds me, or what comes to mind when I think of him is the fact that he produces himself as well, because he was on the Afro Critic Space at the beginning of the year when this album was released. And I remember speaking to him that this album is spectacular. And I was like, the production and the delivery seems very seamless. Like, it sounds very seamless. That who produced this record? I remember asking him, who produced this album? And then he revealed at the time that he is the producer. And you guys, I almost fell off my chair while he was saying that. So if you go to the song credits of the album, it says the album is produced by Wanda. That's the producer's name. The album is produced by Wanda. And then I ask him, what is your relationship with Wanda? And then he tells me that he is Wanda. That's his producing name. And I was so impressed by it. Today, especially among the new artists, especially the ones released, I'm talking about new artists, I'm not talking about debut projects. Among the new artists today, he's the only one that is produced, at least this year, the only one that I know that stands out, that is producing himself. And when I was just thinking about him as an artist, and I was like, he reminds me of Thames. his music evokes the same emotion that her earlier music evoked out of me. Songs like the Luku Luku and songs like that, right? Just her earlier songs, the emotions where I need to, for example, if I needed to study, or I remember a few that year I needed to just study or read through something, and I just needed my mind working on something. It was to play Try Me. I could listen to Try Me a whole day. That was how I felt listening to it. And his music gives me that same emotion as well. Like, I could listen to this album the whole day. Just let it play. Passive listening. Because it is just beautiful music. Beautiful music. And the thing is, once you have an identity and you know who you are, you're able to put your foot in the ground, but then you're able to explore. But then your foot is still in the ground. You don't lose yourself, right? Because I hear a song like Gallant on this project, and then there's a song like Find as well. But then as kind of distinct as these records are when it comes to like just delivery and the and just the music itself, you still hear it's still Kemuel on this project, on the songs. Even when he tries something different, you're not lost. It's not like you're being just thrown in different directions all across the music, trying to tell you I'm diversified or I'm versatile. This is someone who, especially on a new project, it's one of the hardest things to do, to stamp who you are on a project, especially your first one, so that the audience kind of knows where you are and who you are, and they can kind of connect an emotion to your music. That makes it a lot easier for you. That makes it a lot easier. And he does this on this project. This album titled Clouds, this for me, Kemuel is the new artist of the year in my book. It's a close one between him and Code AF, right? But then, man, I could listen to this. I have listened to this album several times. There was an announcement this week that Spotify is going to release what this raps they do every year. I am going to be surprised if Kemuel doesn't overtake MI as my number one artist, as my artist of the year, as the one who I've listened to the music the most. And talking about project, and I didn't just listen to one. Every time I wanted to listen to his music, I'm like, let me just listen to the whole project. That's the difference between an album, a body of work, where because I've heard people say, oh, want this so project, I love this project, but you're not listening to the whole project just all through. Most people aren't. For as good as you guys are saying these projects are, you're not listening to the whole project again. Most people actually are most likely listening to certain songs in that project. They're not listening and letting the project just play. This one, Clouds by Kemuel, I am so impressed. I am so excited about his future as well. I am so excited. You guys cannot, I don't know how else to express how excited I am for him, what his next project is going to be like, because this is such a solid first step. And I'm hoping that he doesn't fall for this thing that happens in the industry where people all of a sudden decide to try something off, who they are at their core, trying to prove a point that nobody is asking for. Kemuel, he impresses me a lot on this project. He's for sure my new artist of the year. His future is very bright. I cannot wait. Another artist that he reminds me of is Nonso Amadi. Now, as you guys know, how precious I think Nonso is, and just how much I admire his music and just his journey, that I think he is in in the Nigerian music industry. He's one of one. It's Nonso Amadi and everybody else, especially when it comes to R&B. And there is no other. I would never like make even compare, and I'm not even making comparisons here. But if there's any artist that comes close or that is doing in the same path with Nonso right now, it has to be Kemuel. And I'm hoping that he sees an artist like Nonso Amadi as some sort of mentor to kind of follow the path at which he has. Because for me, Nonso's album, probably my second best from last year, behind Amare's project, but not too many people were talking about that project last year, right? And I think for Kemuel as well, he has to be comfortable in that circle as well, where everybody is not talking about you, but folks who have ears for good music would always recognize good music, would always recognize you, would always put you out there and say, no, in this conversation, Kemuel stands as one of one. And I remember this past week, I was talking about him in the conversation around new artists. And I'm like, most people do not care about new artists. Where was this conversation last year? Nobody was talking about having strong emotions about new artists last year. Because if they did, there would have been support for artists like Morave. Instead of shitting on her project because she's under Davido's record label, there would have been appreciation for her work. King Madi also released a debut project last year. There would have been more conversations around her as an artist and the project. More than just, talking about her single, but more about the project. Where was the conversations people were having when she released such an incredible record with Chloe Bailey? Right? So back to my point, and that was the point I was making on that space, and people were going head over heels and going bonkers and losing their minds for some stupid reasons, because most people, and this is my conversation we sometimes I'm pinching myself, like, why are you having this conversation with internet people where it is hard for most time for people to kind of comprehend? Most people are listening to respond rather than listen to understand. And then you can then respond, say whatever you want to say. But then when you listen, right, to understand and then respond, it is your response is informed, and whoever's listening to you understands that, okay, you heard, and then but most times, this conversation on the internet, people are triggered over the slightest thing. They're not comprehending. They're not even listening to what you're saying. They just want to get their point across. Basically what the spaces have become. And sometimes I'm just so passionate about these things. I'm like, no, these people, there has to be a different point of view inserted in these conversations, right? And that is honestly, to God, the reason why I get involved in this conversation. Is like, I am very sure that this perspective is not being put out there. I have to get involved to put this perspective there, to insert it in the conversation, because it never comes up. And I remember being asked, like, what do I think can be done? And I think I didn't really give the answer that I really wanted to. But if there is a thing, if what can be done is consistency. I mean, it's consistency in recognizing these new artists and actually supporting them for their music, not for anything else that surrounds them. I remember speaking with my veins coming out last year about Morave and how incredible the album is, and talking about people with an identity and who they just solid identity from a very first project. She is one. Unfortunately, I don't think the record label has done her good, has done justice, and helped her grow and become a better artist. I don't think the record label has done all of that for her. right? But you cannot deny the quality of the project. And I remember last year, the internet, the only thing people were talking about was the fact that, oh, she's related to Davido, and then people that don't like Davido were shitting on the project. And, you know, here we are. So, I mean, to my point where people do not really care. And I think that what we can do to help new artists, especially those who are as talented as artists like Kemuel, is we have to be consistent in recognizing them. I cannot wait for Kemuel to come up with something new. I hope he follows in the same path that artists like Nonso Amadi is following, where your foot is deep, is rooted in who you are. And then you're able to give us different range of music just around that, right? Because if you go through Nonso Amadi's discography, it sounds sort of different but the same. Every single time, it's quality. It's like it's him. It's not trying to show you, oh, I can do reggae and hip hop and all of that is still, it's like there's a how do I explain this now? It's like there is rooted, and then there are branches and there are fruits, but then the root is right there in the ground, deep, not moving. And the root is like the trunk, but then the branches are able to go far wider than the trunk. The branches go wider than the trunk, but they're all still connected to it, if you understand what I mean. And that's what I get from Nonso Amadi. I mean, he has released, different kinds of songs over the years. In the same album, he has Ease Up, where he's talking about, the condition of things in Nigeria and all of that. He has songs like No Crime from the EP a few years ago. And he also has Lock Up with Zinoleski. Right? And then he has a song like Paper, which is it's almost like a party jam, which I haven't seen anyone kind of take advantage of in recent times, which just amazes me. Just that most people don't care about anything that is not pop right here, because even if you there's no way this song passes you, but I haven't seen any DJ work with the song. It's such an incredible track. I haven't heard it in any DJ set in any of the snippet clubs that we see, or videos or whatever we see from clubs and DJs working records. I haven't seen this Paper song by Nonso Amadi yet. Right? This is just crazy to me. But I hope that Kemuel he somehow follows in Nonso Amadi's path, man. He reminds me of those two artists, and Nonso Amadi also produces himself, which I think can be seen or can be heard in the kind of seamless feel that you get when you're listening to his album, right? So Kemuel is for sure, no doubt, my new artist of the year. I am so excited about his future. I'm so excited about what his future all holds. This is an artist that is grounded in himself. He gives me definitely the R&B-ish. He's more pop leaning than Nonso Amadi is, but I cannot wait for everything he's got to offer. He's an incredible songwriter as well. From his song, from the song titled Focus. This song I listened to over and over and over again, the song titled Focus, where he's talking about, and I listened to it not because, I just want to hear it. It's because of what he's talking about. This year has been kind of roller coaster, and I know you out there, everyone has their ups and downs, but this song has kind of kept me, kind of like my eye on the goal, on the ball, right? Going back to the title of the song titled Focus, where it says, if I'm able to get it now, it says, success is not how does he say it now? Let me try and recall that. Success doesn't have a shortcut. I cannot lose focus. My goodness. And it says, if I give up, I fuck up, right? success doesn't have any shortcut. No time to love up. I mean, that I'm going to disagree with him, but I understand his point where it's not. I mean, you have to be focused. Don't look at women or all of that can distract you. And sometimes women can be, having relationships and all of that can help you get to where you're going faster. Sometimes it can be a distraction where that's all you're concerned about. But I totally understand this song, Focus, is one of the defining records of the year for me. It's kind of helped me stay on course and just kind of kept my spirits up, encourage me that, I mean, success doesn't have a shortcut. You just have to go through the process. This song is beautiful, really, really beautiful. One of my records for the year, no doubt. I mean, just personally, and just the message around the song, right? I'm sure it's going to appear in my Wrapped as one of the most listened to songs of the year. I would be shocked if it's not, because the past 2-3 weeks or so where things have kind of been rocky, it has been kind of like the song I go to just kind of help me stay focused, stay locked in. Like, yeah, this is what the process is. I mean, if there's success at the end of all of this, right? So just stay, just kind of stay locked in. I mean, when a record is able to do that for you, genuinely touch your heart and keep you, just keep you locked in. I mean, what can I say, man? Kemuel is such an incredible artist. I am so impressed by this record, and I'm just hoping he takes the right steps moving forward, man. Usually, sometimes this art, you find an artist that is really good, everything seems working on, and they just may go a new direction, right? So I'm hoping he stays true to who he is. Another song that gets me excited is Polo. Oh my god, track 3, a gallant. I mean, 2, 3, 4 alone. The song Fine on this project, I think he tried to do something new as well. Just trying to give us a touch of, I can also do something more Western kind of ish, with the sound and just with the delivery as well. But the overall incredible record. Excited for his future. He's my MVP. He's my rookie MVP for sure. My rookie MVP for sure. I'm excited for him. And that takes me to the next thing I want to talk about real quick. Talking about today and artists wanting to be versatile. This Afro versatile, and the bullshit that smells out of that. And I was just thinking about it this week. And I wanted to talk about, like, because of how I feel, and talking about artists like Kemuel who are able to stay true to who they are. Last week we talked about genres, and it's not a bad thing to be categorized in a genre, because either way, whether you like it or not, you fall in the spectrum of the genres that already exist today. It's one way or another. Why not embrace it? This idea of I don't want people to box me, I think is absolute bullshit. I hear from artists today. Nobody's boxing you. Nobody is boxing you. If you're rooted in who you are as an artist, there is always a spectrum of things you can work around. Now, there are a few artists here and there that would give you different versions of what they can do. I mean, they are not common. There is only one Beyonce, only one Post Malone. There's only one Weeknd. Most artists are in one, and then they give you different spectrums of that one that they're in. There's only one Chris Brown that exists today. It's not every artist that can give you an R&B record and then give you, tell you, okay, I can also rap several rap leaning records over the years. But at his core, we know who he is. Whenever he's going on tour and all of that, we know who he is as an artist. He's an R&B artist. That's who he is. Now, he's giving us different spectrum of who he is as an artist, but at his core, we know who he is. And I was mentioning the same thing about Victony today. Not today, but over the weekend, over the course of the week on the Afro Critic space, where's you have, there is you're rooted in in like with a certain sound with Victoni. I'm like, I was expecting something similar in the sense that you're giving us those sweet melodies in your music, able to, it is not the fastest like party, but able to keep you moving, keep going because of how incredible the melody is. He's been able to do that. But I listened to this new album and none of that is there. Nothing catches my attention in this album. And we need to tell ourselves the truth. Nothing. That EP he had a few years ago, that was incredible. Like nobody can doubt it. Like all the songs that they all caught our attention. Nothing is catching our attention, just melody wise on this project. Because artists are trying to tell us, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. There is no artist today that has got good following, good just community around them, fans and all of that most artists want, that is not rooted at least in one genre that we know them to be. Let's even focus on just Nigerian artists alone. P Square, for example, one of the greatest artists, group to ever come out of the continent. Incredible performers. They've given us different spectrums of who they are over the years, but never did they try to give us something that they're not. They give us incredible pop projects over the years, different albums, but never would you look at it and be like, oh, they're trying to tell us they can do something different. Wande Cole, we know he's an R&B artist. He's been that for over a decade now. What are we talking about here? Like most of the artists that we know that kind of built the solid foundation for where the so-called Afrobeats today is, most of them are rooted, they're fully rooted in a sonic identity. From Nice to Duncan Mighty, to Timaya, to Two-Face, to P Square, to MI. These people are rooted in sonic identity, like there are certain emotions connected to them. And I look at these artists that I cannot think of anybody today that comes close to touching the pedestal that I put any of these artists. With all due respect, man, nobody even comes close. And I know it's skewed today because the Afrobeats and Nigerian music is on such a global view right now that even artists today are getting exposures that were not available to artists that existed or they were doing at the peak of their artistry in the 2010s. But nevertheless, they set incredible examples. But artists today release music, and then by their next project, they're trying to tell us, I can do something else. Who gives a damn? We know who you are. There's Terry G. You know what to get from a Terry G record. And this is not about sounding monotonous or what. They didn't. Nobody can say there was an album that P Square released, and you're saying, oh, this album sounded exactly like the previous album, or this album doesn't excite me because there's nothing refreshing or there's nothing new. It's because artists are not willing to put in the work today. Artists are not willing to put in the work, and it's the truth. Most artists are not even as talented. Let's even start telling ourselves the truth. You put a slow song together, all of a sudden, you're an R&B artist because you put a note together and you can sing on a slow beat. All of a sudden, they tag you as an Afrobeat, as an R&B artist. What are we doing? There was a clear cut that an R&B was Dare Atalade, another incredible one. Banky W, another incredible. Like, we were clear about who the R&B artists were. And nobody was trying to You can't even do that because there are everybody in each genre were at the top of their game. So I mean, Faiyaz fell for that. That's also one artist that kind of had a sonic identity. We kind of knew who he was. He's rap. I mean, he's an incredible rapper. One of the best out there. And I mean, he's able to tell. He's an incredible storyteller. That is his strength. But he decided to want to release an R&B record. I don't like an R&B project, not even a record, an R&B project. I don't know who told him to do that. Right? So, and he's one of those who kind of came up with a certain generation of artists who kind of understood that you need to have some sort of sonic identity. But he fell for the internet, whatever the internet was. But thank goodness he came back with a new project this year yes, this is him. This is the Faiyaz we know, not that thing you were trying to release an R&B record or R&B project. It's just I'm thinking of this, and because the question then is, why is it so prevalent today that a lot of artists kind of like want to give you that, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. And it always, most times, 9 times out of 10, it falls flat. And it's because the industry is so small, right? I think how many we've been talking about top three, big three, whatever, for a couple of years now. Of a whole genre, not of a whole industry, not genre. Like the way it's been said, or the news around the rap industry in the US. We're talking about the big three. I mean, for the good part of this year. But that conversation is not being had on a national, like, oh, the big three of the artists in the US, right? Or the big three of artists in the UK, or the big three of artists in South America, right? Because the industry is a lot bigger than that, and there are different people in different pockets who are at the top of their game in each one, that you attempting to do any to kind of show that you can do a certain thing when you are not the top of your game there, you're gonna look like a fool, right? So everyone is in like a specialized lane where you just follow your lane, and only very few people are able to deviate to several lanes. Like Beyonce has given us a country project. Even Chris Brown has not given a rap project where he was just rapping throughout the whole project. You can't do that because there are folks at the top of their game in the rap genre, and you're not even close to the top. And I think the reason why everyone feels comfortable trying to form this diversify and versatile, the bullshit around that, the reason why I think that narrative, or people get away with it, especially in the Nigerian music industry, is because the industry is so small and very few people are existing in other pockets. So it's easy for you to come out and just disrespect, right? Where because I slow down the song, I slow down the music and give certain chords, and you come and sing a certain slow way, all of a sudden you're an R&B artist, or you're tagged as R&B by most people, when we know that there is a standard. And I remember putting out a tweet a few weeks ago, Nonso Amadi is the standard here. And I'm not saying other artists don't exist in the R&B space, but there is a standard for an R&B record. For you to be called an R&B artist, there is a standard, please. And you just have to meet that standard. Anything outside of that, you're a pop artist who likes to sing slow music. That's basically who you are. right? So I mean, I just dove into another side that I really wanted to talk about, the Afro emo. This thing. I mean, anyone who sings about bandits now, sing about mental health, emotion now, they see you as what? Afro emo. And all of a sudden, your borderline already being called R&B. It's ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous to me. I I'm trying to respect people, and I don't want to go all in on on just my feelings around, especially this this Afro emo thing, right? And I put out a tweet this past week and I put out a meme along with it saying A&Rs are probably looking for the next artist for 2025 who's going to come with a bandit story and a mental health story, and then they're going to forget all the ones that they pushed down our throats this year, because there are a few of them out there who have talked about bandits and mental health, and all of a sudden, oh wow, this project, oh wow, this, oh wow, this, that. 2025, we're going to have new artists again. They're going to push another bandit storytelling artist down our throats again. Well, we're going to be here to talk about it, and I'm going to be screaming from the top, from the hilltop, saying, "I told you so." And then the thing is, these artists are not going to give you 2 more projects of this, because the industry would demand a hit. They would demand a hit single from you, and you 9 times out of 10 with your Afro emo, you are not getting a top single that is going to put you out there to compete with the pop artists. Because everyone is screaming about Means now. If Means did not have War as a hit from about a year, or is it a year and a half or 2 years ago, they're not talking about him. He's not even in conversations. It's him I'm talking about. He's not, and this might look like I'm shitting on him, like he doesn't have a talent. He does. But then the reception people just have towards him, I'm like, nah, this is not it. This tells me nothing about the artist. I could have pulled anyone from the street, give them these lyrics to sing, and they will do. This tells me nothing about the artist himself. Because I'm sure by the next one, like I mentioned on the space a few weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, that I'm sure by the next project, he's going to try and prove to me that he's a pop artist, because he's not grounded in anything right now. It is very obvious that this was pushed. We're going to be here. I'm just going to save everything I have towards that. We're going to be here when he releases that second project. We're all going to be here. It's going to be interesting to see what that will sound like. Because, I mean, she's going to need another war at that time, right? But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. We've gone way beyond the time I wanted us to spend today, but I'll push the things, some of them, to next week, please. Thank you very much for your time. As always, please follow on YouTube, is the No Stand Zone podcast with Tiae on YouTube. Please subscribe, please share with friends, family, and also follow on Twitter as well as Tiae Sound, TIAE Sound on Twitter, as well as at No Stand Pod, at No Stand Pod on Twitter as well. If you have thoughts, you can share them with me on Twitter. Let me know what your thoughts about any of the things that I've spoken about today, either from the new music to the artist, or my thoughts around this Afro emo, Afro versatile bullshit that seems to be creeping in among our artists out there today, where nobody is priding themselves in having some sort of identity, and everybody wants to show you that I can do everything, right? And yeah. And how do they say that thing? Jack of all trades and master of none. In music, you need to be master of something, and then you can work around that and show us that you can exist around the spectrum of who you really are, right? The trunk is rooted, and then the branches are able to spread out, but not out enough that it's not connected to the trunk, right? To the tree itself, right? So those are my thoughts. As always, thank you very, very much for your time. And please do not hesitate one more time to share. And I will be expecting and waiting patiently for your feedback on any of the things we've talked about on the show today. As always, please don't drink and drive, don't text and drive. I remain myself, Tiae. Until next week, stay blessed.